Today, it's a tale of DSP-enabled monitors. Not the beefy Genelecs I've got behind me, but these, the IK Multimedia Micro Monitor, or rather the Micro Monitor Pro, as this is the newest iteration out of IK, and it features a host of improvements over the original design. So stick with us and see if these could be the central powerhouse for your mobile production. There's no debating that the original IK Multimedia Micro Monitor really revolutionised mobile production, giving you a set of more accurate than they really should be for the size of the cabinet monitors to take around wherever you ended up. If you are wanting to use speakers in something like a hotel room, they were perfect. Being able to take a pair, mix something on the road, it's just a genius move. The bass extension always absolutely shocked me on how good it was for the size of the cabs. And that's the first thing that they've improved in the Pro model, because now you've got a selectable 80 or 50 hertz cutoff. It's a real eye-opening change and is almost as good as the bigger MTM model, which goes down into the 40s. Let's have a look at the back of the speaker and we can see that firstly, it's got an XLR input! Hallelujah! It's also got a phono if you want to connect up that way, but it's really, really welcome. Thank you. Next up, the calibration flat or desk EQ. The desk EQ will compensate for putting the speakers directly on a desk and the change in tone that creates. The calibration mode either selects the calibrated signal, or if you hold it down, lets you calibrate them using the proper ARC measurement mic that you get included with a pair of these. This connects up to the XLR input. It's the same one that's used on their ARC room system. And this lets you do a 1-point calibration directly off the speaker itself. It also then goes down and we've got a HF control with a plus and minus and an LF control with a little plus and minus. The 50 or 80 hertz cutoff. There's also a USB input, but this isn't for audio. This is just for connecting up to the X monitor control software. You've still got to provide an analog signal to the speaker. And then, of course, we've also got the power connector and the volume dial. You can see here that I've got them resting at ear height on top of the desk, nice and close to me. And that really is the secret for these speakers. The closer you can get to them, the less the room will have an effect. And this doesn't make as much of a difference in here with a lot of acoustic treatment as it does in a completely untreated hotel room. So try and get them nice and close to your ears. The focal distance on this is very small because of the size of the driver and the difference of the driver and the tweeter. So you could have them really close up to you. Mounting wise, you've got a couple of different options. You can either flip up the little foot underneath to angle it up on a desktop, or there's a mic stand mount, and that's the smaller threaded size, and you can use any normal mic stand. Let's get on to how it sounds. Now, obviously there's two parts of this. There's the calibrated and uncalibrated sound, and again in here it's not making a massive difference, but if we go and look in the included X monitor control panel, you'll see when I analysed it, it's got kind of this 100 to 200 hertz bump in here. Now that doesn't quite match up to what my Genelec GLM system measures, but again the speakers are in a different position, so I am going to expect that what they're measuring is going to be something slightly different. The X monitor control software is pretty good with the ability not only to emulate certain classic speakers to give you a second monitor type of effect, but also to adjust the calibration slightly to more of your preference once it's been calibrated. So you can put on a little bit of a house curve to meet your own personal taste. You can also do a more detailed calibration, monitoring 4 points at the front and the back of your head on either side to get a better, more accurate analysis. Once calibrated, actually, this is pretty close to the Genelecs, above 150 Hz. If I put a high pass on my monitor bus, it is a lot closer than I would ever think is possible, especially considering the price difference here, with it being, I mean, the Genelecs are about 10 times the cost of the IKs. Now, take that filter off and it does, the differences really do start to stand out, especially as we come down below about 100 Hz. It is good. If you're making acoustic music, these are brilliant. Yes, with the bottom end, it hasn't quite got the weight in the subs. If I play something like from someone like Pendulum, or with big 808 basses in them, in that big 30 to 40 Hertz region, yeah, it doesn't really cut through, even when it's on the biggest extension, but it's better than the original micro monitor. What's there is fairly right and well balanced. It's really surprising for the size. Would I pick the MTMs over these? Yes, I would. I think the MTM does go that little bit deeper. This is to sit in the middle of the original micro monitor and the MTMs, and it does that job superbly. Would I have these as my only monitor? Probably not. Would I have them as a second set? Oh, well, yeah. If you think about how many people use something like NS10s, which of course there isn't an emulation built into the software for them as well, albeit disguised as a white coned speaker, then you know the logic of having a decent mid-range reference is definitely good, especially if you've not got speakers on the grade of the Genelec. The mids on this are well balanced, especially after calibration. Where it does start to fall down is when we get into the sub-octaves. Not so much because the extension doesn't work, but that there's noise off the port. Now, this was something that the MTMs suffered from as well, and the original micro monitor. You'll really notice it if you play a kick or a bass on its own. It's a lot more noisy than you would expect. It's not so much evident when the full mix is playing, but singled out, you will notice it at higher volumes. As with the MTMs, I would suggest running them on the 80 Hz setting for when you're actually doing a mix, but obviously that does cut out those sub-octaves. But what you're then hearing is very reliable, and yes, you can extend it down to give you that lower end bump. Especially when you're writing, yep, that's definitely fun. It does work, and it works a lot better at lower volumes than it does at higher. That really is the only limitation I found with these speakers. The software is impressive, the mounting capabilities are good, the compensation's good, the portability's good. Yes, they take another power cable, which is just another thing to add into your arsenal to travel with, but it's not a massive chore to go out and kit yourself up with it. You might need a multi-way for a hotel room. But yeah, okay, we're cracking on a little bit here. But again, it is the Pro model. This has been done to be able to address the needs of the people who outgrew the original micro monitor, and to that it does an incredibly good job. Do I think these are worth the money? Yeah, I absolutely do. If you're a video editor, they're absolutely something you can consider if you're having to travel and do edits on site, on location. If you're working out of a hotel most of the time, absolutely, these are very, very good. What's been your experience with the original micro monitors? Where have you been able to mix out of? I think the list of places that it's possible is definitely expanded with this new model, and I'd love to hear where you end up doing some quality mix work. If we have sparked your interest, then hit us up, Scan Pro Audio at scan.co.uk if you are in the UK, and we will send you some very special viewer offers. Otherwise, please hit subscribe if you like this kind of content, and we'll see you for another video again soon.